Hi, can you see me? Hi. We're trying something new. Um, just so I can feel more connected to you, I guess. No, I thought it'd be fun. Okay, so in order to start painting, we have our melted cocoa butter and petal dust. I'm using white as an icing whitener, but you can use just petal dust as well, white petal dust. Okay, so we're gonna go in. I'm just gonna paint random rectangles, really. I might need to put more powder in my paint just because it's coming out a little translucent, more than I want it to. Okay, so I mixed a little more powder in and hopefully I got it to where the camera will stay focused. So it's a little bit more opaque. So I'm hardly putting any pressure on my brush. The edge doesn't have to be exactly perfect because we're going to go back in and outline it. And it's important to have a soft bristle brush to do this. But once this paint dries, you can layer it on because it is a little bit more opaque than gel colors. I also like that the white doesn't crack. So I'm going over the edge. But to paint the corners and the outline, I'm using more of the tip. And then when I'm filling in the center, I'm using more of the sides of the brush. Just because it's a quicker way to cover more real estate. Try to keep all my brush strokes going in the same direction. Okay, so sometimes I might put the paint on sort of in an opposite direction just because it's easier to create a clean line. But then I usually go back and I will lightly sort of pull the stroke up so they go in the same direction. Okay, so now I'm going to mix a little bit of light pink. So I have my darker pink here. I'll put that in some of the melted cocoa butter, and then I'm going to take some white. I'm using a different brush now just so I don't mix up the colors. And this is more of a flat angle brush. I don't typically paint with these, so we're going to see how it goes. I want to mix it up real good so the lumps are out. And we're going to do the same thing. This flat angle brush actually works pretty well for this because of its shape. It creates those straight lines pretty easily. This doesn't look dry. So I'm going to go behind it for now. What's the first one? Was that the first one I painted? I think so. All right. Let's see what happens if we go over the white. It's too soon. You know, we all have our go-to tools. I usually reach for a round brush for whatever reason. But this is working out a little better if I do say so myself. You see I was able to layer on top of the white. Okay, so I've put some pink rectangles in. Now I'm going to start back with some white. I want some going off the cake, the bottom. Some going over the edge at the top. You can also add a second coat if your colors are a little streakier than you want them to be, which is another reason I like painting this way. These materials is that you can layer. But sometimes you might find like if the cocoa butter is too hot, then it can start to pick up the color underneath because it's like melting it again. So then you might just want to take it off of the hot water and let it cool down a little bit. And another great thing I like about this technique too is that it won't bleed or run when your cake, is coming back to room temperature if it's been in the fridge. Sometimes with gel color, the color will run once it starts to have condensation. This is more like painting with oil paints instead of watercolor or like acrylics. I mean, this is more like painting with acrylics. Gel color is more like painting with watercolor. So this is more like oil color or acrylics. Does that make sense? I feel like I was not clear. The second coat's easier to apply. Good, good. Good, good. Do we want more anywhere? So then I like to take a 360 view, see what maybe spaces are missing. I like having some of the negative space. I'm debating on if I want something here or not. I don't think so. Okay, so on my palette, I just took this full brighter pink and mixed it into one of my oils. And then I have this, which I got this whole pack of heart sponges on clearance at Michael's. I don't know how much they were, like $1.50 or something. So I just took them and I hot glued them onto the end of a cake dowel. So we're just going to see how that goes. I'm just going to water on here. Dip it in here until it gets nice and saturated. I'm honestly a little bit scared. This could work or not. But even if it doesn't work exactly perfectly, we can fix it. So I'm just going to press, bloopers. Bloop diddy bloop. Listen, don't panic. Now I have to figure this out. Oh, I'm going to make this one work. Blooper. I mean, it does make it easier. But see, you can clean this up too. That was a giant fail. Does failing prompt you guys to sing? Listen, I fixed it. Would it be easier to paint a freehand heart? Maybe. But am I determined to use my sponges from Michael's? Absolutely. Attempt numero 2. Better? Is it perfect? No, but is it better? Yes. So then, all right, so it's not going to come out perfectly, or at least I have not remedied it yet. But it does give us a quick and easy shape to follow and the color to fill it in. All right. You guys listen, you are learning right alongside me. Things I've never tried before. Lovely. Okay. I didn't press down at the bottom when I was pressing like this because I don't want it to go into this other pink envelope. Here's what I'm learning. It's just giving me the impression. I've got my paintbrushes sitting out here over to the side, and so I don't know if you can tell, the cocoa butter is sort of hardened in there. If you just sort of dip them back into the warm oil, they loosen back up. All right, so that's good for that. So the next thing we're going to add are little stamps. So I'm just going to paint a rectangle. Let's see how I can just paint on top of the color underneath. I love it so much. So next step, I'm going to mix some black petal dust into my last, well, it's not my last little oil, but into one of my oils. And I am using a script liner brush. I'm not worried about even outlining it perfectly, to be honest. But I am going to outline everything. And to help you get a straighter line, you're going to want to just start, and then you're kind of looking where you're going. Sometimes I turn the turntable. I just rest my hand on the not rest my hand, but I just hold my hand in place, and then I'll turn the turntable, and it'll help me get a straight line like that. But my eye isn't following my paintbrush down. My eye is looking kind of where I want to end up, and that helps me get a straighter line. See, I missed that. No biggie. Leave it alone. Leave it alone. I like things that look like they're made by the human hand, you know? From the corner, we're gonna go whoop. Like so. Where does the envelope go? This is my practice. I don't remember how envelope went. All right. Now we're banging on all syllables. Okay. Dun, 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 dun. And then let's just do a whoop-de-woo. Whoop. Try to do it at this angle. Good enough. Then let's do a wiggle wiggle. Whoop. I got a little wild with my wiggles. They probably don't need to be that wild. Okay. Straight lines. So I rest my hand here, not really moving my hand so much. I'm just moving my wrist. Okay, now for this one, I'm anchoring my hand here again. And then I'm gonna position my paintbrush sort of in the direction I wanna go. And then with my left hand, I'm turning my turntable. So this never moved. This hand never moved. I moved this. Same for down here. Oops, ran out of paint. I'm gonna move my wrist, hands rested here. Okay, that didn't work out because there was a bump in the, what's your face? Oil. You can also clean that up. I just went back in with a little white over top. Another tip I have is to go in different directions. So sometimes it's easier to pull, sometimes it's easier to push your brush. So instead of trying to get it all in one stroke like that, I usually break it up into 2 strokes. Also, when I was in art school, we learned that, let's see, paint on my face. We learned that it's more interesting to have varying line weight. So even though like my line is not perfect, it's thicker in some places, thinner in other places, I actually prefer it that way. I think it looks more interesting. Even with like when I work on my computer, drawing on the computer with Procreate, I will go back and vary the line weight if there's an outline. Like I don't like it being perfect all the way around. I think it just doesn't have as much character that way. So if your lines are a little bit not perfect, I think that's fine, especially with this cartoony kind of style. I wouldn't worry too much about it. I mean, some people get really bugged about it, but I actually like it better that way. Otherwise, it looks like it looks machine made. Okay, so originally I was gonna stop right there, but now that I'm looking at it, I kind of want to add something to this background part, and I'm torn. I don't know whether to do it or not. But another thing I learned in art school is just do it. We used to have to make work and then destroy it basically, because otherwise you would never know what would work and what wouldn't work, right? Even though it's so precious, we like it how it is. Sometimes you just have to try it. So let's see. Now, mind you, I would not experiment if this were a client cake. Like I would have a clearer plan. But at times where you're just doing something for yourself or for, a family member where you are able to have the freedom, I would say push it that one extra step. What's the worst that can happen? Okay, so what do you think? Do you think it was better with or without the XOs? I personally like it better with. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to make a quick and cute topper to go along with this, and then we will get her styled for her photo shoot. All right, then also, when you are done with your paintbrushes, you're just going to want to wash them with warm water and a little bit of like dish soap. And you're just going to put the dish soap and water in your hands. You're going to scrub it around until your brushes are nice and clean and the water is running clear. You don't have to use hot water because that could make the glue that holds the bristles in come undone. So just like warm water. So I drew out just a quick little sketch of the topper I want to make on some parchment paper. And then I got 2 pieces of floral wire and I braided them together. I'm going to take some floral tape. And I'm going to wrap the center part. Now, if you are including this on a cake, I would just make sure you tell the client, it's got an inedible structure in the center, so maybe just take that out before you serve the cake. So I wrap the center part just so it stays together a little better. And then I like to hold it up to my little drawing, make sure it's going to work out. These parts are going to go into the cake. You can always extend this part by attaching it to some skewers with floral tape. I think technically this should have been shorter. No biggie. I just unwound it one time. Everything's fixable. Everything's fixable. Well, not everything. Most things are fixable. I want this little part to be in this section of the topper. I think that'll work. Okay, so now I'm just gonna roll out some of I've made some light pink fondant. Since these are all straight cuts, I'm just gonna use my flexi blade. Okay, and then I just want to make sure I'm going to brush a little bit of water into where the wire will go. I'm going to push it down into there. So I just need it big enough for this bottom piece here. But I don't want to roll it too thin. Just going to trim this. Then I'm going to roll out some white. This can be really thin. So I brushed a little water on and then I put the rectangle inside. Then I'm going to brush the edges. Line that up, pat it down. So I actually should have made the topper first, so it would have been dry when we needed him, but I didn't. So we're going to decorate him and then set him aside to dry. The topper has dried. We got him right here. And I think I want this to be the front of the cake. So I'm going to clip his arms a bit. Okay, and then we're going to add little feet and little hands. So I've got 2 equal-sized balls, or about equal, and I'm going to make one into sort of a teardrop shape. And then take my little tool. He's just going to have like mitten hands. I'm just going to insert those onto the end. Then for his feet, I have 2 balls that are slightly bigger than the hands were. I'm also going to roll them into kind of like a pill shape. And then I'm going to be careful with that. Should probably be doing it down on the board, but to show you, I just split it like this. And then I've got a little water in a bowl. I'm going to brush down the middle with the little water. And then I'm going to place that around the wire. There's his little tootsies. And then I just need to seal the seam. Of course, you could just make these and before you put him in, just slide his, legs through there. That's fine too. He's all set. You could also, if you wanted to, add a little heart back here and a stamp. I almost forgot to add his little glimmer.